Chosen one, there is something happening in your life right now that you cannot fully explain. You feel it in your bones, a pulling, a stirring, something deep inside you that refuses to stay quiet no matter how many times the world told you to sit down, stay silent, stop dreaming. You have been through things that should have finished you. You have walked through fire that would have reduced most people to ash. You have stood at the edge of your own destruction, and somehow, you did not fall. You came back. And not just back. You came back stronger than the version of yourself that went in. You came back carrying something you did not have before. A knowing, a fire, a quiet, unshakable certainty that nothing in this world can permanently break you, and that terrifies the forces that tried. Let me tell you something that the world does not want you to understand. The trials that nearly swallowed you whole were not random. The pain that pressed down on your chest at 3 in the morning was not accidental. The losses, the betrayals, the seasons where everything you built crumbled in your hands, none of it was chaos. It was curriculum, it was preparation for a version of you that the universe needed to exist. And here is the part that will shake you to your core. Even heaven paused and took notice the moment you decided to rise again. Think about that. Think about what it means when something greater than human understanding looks at a person and says, this one will not stay down. This one will take everything the darkness can throw, and instead of breaking will become the very light the darkness feared. That is you. That has always been you. You were chosen not because your path would be easy, but because your spirit was strong enough to make the impossible look inevitable. You remember those moments when you thought it was over? When the diagnosis came and the room went quiet? When the relationship ended and you sat on the floor wondering who you even were without that person? When the business collapsed and you had to look your family in the eyes and find words you did not have? When the friend turned their back? When the door slammed shut? When the bank account hit zero and the rent was due and you could not see a single path forward? You remember those moments. They are carved into you. They are the chapters of a story that is not finished, a story that is only now reaching its most powerful turning point. Because here is what those moments did. They did not destroy you, they stripped you. They removed everything that was not essential. They took the noise, the pretense, the comfortable lies you had been telling yourself, and they peeled it all away until what was left was nothing but the raw, true, indestructible core of who you are. And that core is made of something this world has no name for. It is the part of you that kept breathing when you wanted to stop. It is the part of you that got out of bed on the morning you had every reason to stay buried under the covers. It is the part of you that whispered, one more day, just one more day, and then did it again and again, until days became weeks and weeks became a momentum and momentum became a movement and the movement became a miracle. You are a walking miracle. Not the kind they put on greeting cards, not the polished, perfect kind they make movies about. You are the raw, real, hard-won kind of miracle that only comes from someone who went all the way to the bottom of themselves and found that even there, even in the very pit of despair, there was still something worth fighting for. There was still light, small, flickering, almost invisible, but there you found it, and you cupped it in your hands, and you breathed on it gently, and you carried it out of the darkness with you. Now I want you to understand something about the nature of chosen people. It is not what religion or culture has often made it seem. Being chosen is not about being perfect. It is not about having the right background or the right connections or the right amount of talent. The chosen ones are always the ones who have been tested beyond what seems survivable. Look at every great story ever told, in scripture, in history, in the lives of the people who changed the world, and you will find the same pattern. Before the breakthrough, there is the breaking. Before the promotion, there is the process. Before the glory, there is the suffering. Not because suffering is the point, but because the person you need to become cannot be constructed without it. You had to lose certain things so that your hands would be empty enough to receive what is actually meant for you. You had to walk away from certain people so that you could discover who you truly are when no one is defining you. You had to fail at certain things so that you could understand the difference between what you were chasing and what you were called to. Every single painful chapter in your life was moving you toward this moment, this awakening, this return. And let me tell you what your return looks like from the outside, because you may not see it yet. You walk differently now. There is a groundedness in you that was not there before. People sense it when they are around you, this unshakable quality, this calm beneath the surface that does not come from having an easy life, but from having survived a hard one. Your eyes hold something now, a depth, an understanding, a compassion that can only be earned, never borrowed. You have become someone that other people instinctively trust, not because of what you say, but because of what you carry. You carry proof, living, breathing, walking proof that a human being can go through the worst and come out of it not defeated but deepened. There are people in your life right now who are watching you, quietly. They will not always say it out loud, but they are watching, and your resurrection, your decision to rise, to keep going, to rebuild, is giving them permission to believe that they can do the same with their own pain. Your life is a message, your continued existence is a sermon. Your refusal to be permanently broken is a prophecy fulfilled, and it is speaking to people in ways you may never fully know. Now I want to address the part of you that is still afraid, because even the strongest among us carry doubt in their pockets. Even the most resilient people wake up some mornings and wonder if the new beginning is real, if the momentum will hold, if the worst is truly behind them. That part of you that is still cautious, that still flinches when things get too good because you have been ambushed before, that part is not your weakness. That is your wisdom wearing unfamiliar clothes. But here is what you need to hear directly. The season of surviving is giving way to the season of thriving. The chapter of loss is closing. The chapter of abundance, not just material abundance, but emotional, spiritual, relational abundance is opening. And the life that is waiting for you on the other side of your full surrender to your own calling is more extraordinary than your fear will currently allow you to imagine. You have to let yourself believe that good things are not followed by punishment. You have to unlearn the part of your story that taught you love is conditional, or success is temporary, or happiness is always about to be snatched away. Those were lessons from seasons that are over. They were survival adaptations for a battlefield you have already crossed. You are not on that battlefield anymore. You are standing on ground that was always meant for you, and it is time, it is past time, to plant something here. Here is what the comeback looks like from the inside. It is not dramatic. It is not a single moment of thunderclap revelation. It is quiet and consistent and daily. It is choosing every single morning to act as if your life has value and your dreams have weight and your presence in this world matters, even on the days when you do not feel it. It is returning phone calls and opening emails and sitting down to work on the thing you said you would do. It is drinking the water and moving the body and sleeping at a reasonable hour and speaking to yourself with the same gentleness you would offer to someone you love. It is the small choices stacked on top of each other, day after day, until they become a life that you can actually stand in and feel proud of. And the strength that is emerging in you now is different from any strength you have had before. The strength you had in your 20s, if you are older, was the strength of someone who had not yet been truly tested. It was courage without scars. Now you have something rarer. Now you have courage with memory, courage that knows exactly what it is capable of surviving and still chooses to show up anyway. That is a different animal entirely. That is the kind of strength that moves mountains. That is the kind of strength that changes the trajectory of families and communities and generations, because when you carry that kind of strength and you pour it into something, the results are not ordinary, they cannot be. The universe, or God, or life, or whatever language carries the most weight for you, does not waste resources. Everything you have been through is a resource. The empathy you develop by being broken, resource. The discernment you gain from being betrayed, resource. The humility you found at the bottom of your worst season, resource. The creativity you discovered when you had nothing left to lose, resource. The faith you built not by reading about it but by living through the thing that should have destroyed it, resource. You are walking into your next season with more tools than you have ever had. More clarity, more compassion, more fire. And that fire is not going to burn down your life. That fire is going to light up the room you walk into. Do you understand yet? Do you understand what has been happening? You were not being punished. You were being prepared. The difficulty was not evidence that you were forgotten. It was evidence that something extraordinary was being built inside you, and extraordinary things require extraordinary process. The diamond does not become a diamond by being left in comfortable soil. It becomes a diamond because the earth pressed down on it with unimaginable force for an unimaginable amount of time. And then one day someone reaches in and pulls it out, and the light hits it, and what everyone sees is not the pressure. What everyone sees is the brilliance. That is you. That is what they are about to see. The pressure was real, the darkness was real, but none of it was the final word. You are the final word, and the word you are speaking with your life right now is comeback, return, resurrection, restoration. The word is more. Let me talk to you now about the people who told you that you were done. The ones who counted you out, the ones who whispered at your expense or who moved on before you were ready or who did not show up when the chapter was hard. Some of them meant to hurt you. Some of them were simply afraid of what your rising would mean for their own settling. Some of them were too limited in their own vision to imagine what was possible for you. And some of them, here is the complicated part, some of them were necessary, because the loneliness of that season forced you inward, forced you to find resources inside yourself that community had been covering, forced you to sit with your own thoughts long enough to hear what you actually believed, what you actually wanted, who you actually were underneath the performance. You do not need to be bitter about any of them. You do not need to perform your success for their watching eyes. You do not need to prove anything to anyone who was not willing to believe in you before the evidence was visible. Your vindication is not their humiliation. Your success is not your revenge. Your success is your destiny, and it belongs to you entirely, regardless of who doubted you along the way. Walk toward what is ahead of you. Walk with your eyes forward and your back straight and your heart open. The scoreboard of proving people wrong is a small game. The game you are now called to play is so much larger. Play that one. And I want to speak to the gift that is hidden inside your pain, because every person who has ever suffered deeply and come through it intact carries a particular gift. The gift of presence. You know how to sit with someone in their darkness without rushing them toward the light. You know how to say, "I see you," and mean it all the way down. You know how to hold space for grief because you know what it feels like when no one holds it for you. That gift is rare. That gift is needed. The world is full of people who are brilliant at celebrating the good times and completely lost in the hard ones. You are someone who can go into the hard ones and not be destroyed. That makes you a lifeline. That makes you irreplaceable. That makes you someone the world genuinely needs. There are people, maybe you can already name them, who are waiting for the version of you that comes out of this season. Children who need a parent who has walked through fire and found peace on the other side. Students who need a teacher who understands failure as intimately as success. Friends who need someone who will not flinch when they share the darkest parts of themselves. Strangers who will one day read your words or hear your story or simply watch how you carry yourself and decide that they too can survive. Your comeback is not just for you, it never was. Every comeback is also a community resource. So step into it fully. Stop holding yourself at the edge of your own destiny. Stop waiting for permission or perfect conditions or absolute certainty. Stop waiting until you feel ready, because feeling ready is a myth. Courage is the decision to move before you feel ready and trust that the ground will meet your feet. You have already proven that you can survive the fall. Now prove that you can fly. Not because flying is easy, but because you have been grounded long enough and you know the feeling of altitude and you are done pretending that you belong on the floor. The comeback is not a moment, it is a posture. It is the daily decision to show up for your own life with the same ferocity that life showed up for you in the hard seasons. It is the commitment to match the intensity of your trials with the intensity of your purpose. It is the understanding that you did not survive all of that just to be comfortable. You survived all of that to be used, to be powerful. To be the answer to someone's prayer that they have not yet spoken but will speak, and when they do, you will be there, whole and healed and ready, because you did not stop in the middle of your own becoming. God, or the universe, or the deepest truth of existence was not shaken by your suffering. But there was a moment in the stillness, at the turning point, when the decision was made inside you to rise, and something larger than circumstance took notice. Something said, "There it is, there is the thing we have been waiting for. There is the soul choosing itself. There is the human being deciding that the story is not over." And in that moment, the resources of restoration began to organize themselves around you, not because you earned it, not because you performed correctly, but because you chose life, you chose to continue. And that choice, that single, irreversible, everything-changing choice, was the moment your life truly began. Everything that comes now is built on that foundation. Every good thing that arrives in your life from this point forward is built on the fact that in your darkest hour, you decided it was not your last hour, that you had more to give, more to become, more to see, more to do, more to love. That simple, stubborn, magnificent decision is the bedrock of the extraordinary life that is now being constructed around you. And it is being constructed even when you cannot see it, even when the progress is invisible, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Things are changing. Underground, at the root level, in the places that precede all visible transformation, The tree does not announce its roots, it just grows. You are growing, right now, in the ways that matter most. And the day is coming, it is closer than you think, when what has been hidden will become visible, when what you have been carrying in private will become public testimony, when the story you have been living in secret will become the story that sets someone else free. That day is coming. And when it does, you will look back on this very moment, this season of returning, of rebuilding, of becoming, and you will understand finally and completely why every single thing happened exactly the way it did. Until then, keep going, keep showing up, keep choosing yourself, keep building the thing, healing the wound, having the conversation, taking the step, making the call, writing the word, planting the seed. Keep doing the small things with great faithfulness, because faithfulness in the small things is what unlocks the great ones. Keep believing in the version of yourself that is still emerging. Keep being patient with your own process, because the most extraordinary outcomes are never the fastest ones. They are the ones rooted deep enough to last. You came back, and you came back stronger, and the world and everything above it is watching what you do next with the life that was given back to you. Do not waste it on smallness. Do not waste it on bitterness. Do not waste it on fear. You were chosen, you were tested, you were refined. And now you are ready. Go. There is a lie that pain tells you in the middle of the night. It whispers that you are being punished, that something is fundamentally wrong with you, that the reason your life has been harder than others is because you are less deserving, less favored, less protected by whatever force governs this universe. And when you are lying in the dark with that weight on your chest, that lie feels like the most honest thing anyone has ever said to you. It feels like the truth because it is loud and it is persistent, and it arrives at your weakest moments when you have the least strength to argue back. But it is not the truth. It has never been the truth. And the sooner you can look that lie directly in the face and refuse it, the sooner your entire relationship with your own history begins to transform. Pain is not punishment. Pain is process. There is a profound and important difference between the two, and understanding that difference is not a small thing. It is the thing that separates people who are destroyed by their suffering from people who are deepened by it. Punishment is an ending. It is a verdict. It says you have been found lacking and this is what you deserve, and there is nothing on the other side of it worth waiting for. Process, on the other hand, is movement. It is transformation in progress. It is the fire that does not consume the gold but purifies it, burning away everything that was never supposed to be there in the first place. Think about everything you lost in your hardest seasons, the relationships that ended, the opportunities that collapsed, the version of yourself that you had to bury because life made it impossible to keep being that person. In the moment of each loss, it felt like destruction. It felt like something was being taken from you unfairly, and the grief of that was real. Do not let anyone minimize how real that grief was. But look now, from where you stand today, at what those losses actually did. The relationship that ended removed someone who was keeping you small. The opportunity that collapsed redirected you towards something that actually aligned with who you are. The version of yourself that you buried was a version built on other people's expectations, and its death made room for something authentic to breathe. Nothing that was meant for you was taken. Everything that left was clearing space. And every moment of pain was the universe insisting, with a force proportional to how badly you needed to hear it, that you were going in the wrong direction, or carrying the wrong weight, or holding on to the wrong things. Pain is not the opposite of purpose. Pain is often the loudest voice purpose has. Consider how the most extraordinary people you have ever admired came to be who they are. Not one of them arrived at greatness through a life of uninterrupted ease. Every single one of them has a chapter, usually several chapters, of profound difficulty that they will tell you, without hesitation, made them, not broke them, made them. The difficulty was the making, the suffering was the school, and the graduation was not the moment the pain ended, but the moment they understood what the pain had been building inside them all along. You are in that school right now, or you have recently walked out of one of its hardest classrooms, and what was built in you during that time, the resilience, the discernment, the compassion, the unshakable knowing of your own strength, cannot be purchased or borrowed or inherited. It can only be earned, and you earned it, every single ounce of it. Which means nothing that happened to you was wasted, not one tear, not one sleepless night, not one moment of doubt or despair or desperate prayer into what felt like an empty ceiling. It was all preparation. It was always preparation. And what you are being prepared for is greater than what you lost to get there. There is a version of the comeback that lives in movies and highlight reels. It has a soundtrack, it has a slow-motion moment where the broken person stands up, looks at the horizon, and the light hits them in exactly the right way. The crowd roars, the music swells. Everyone who ever doubted them watches with their mouth open as the transformation is completed in a single cinematic instant. That version of the comeback is deeply satisfying to watch. It is also almost entirely fictional, and the danger of believing in it too completely is that when your real comeback arrives, quiet, unglamorous, incremental, and deeply ordinary on the surface, you might not recognize it. You might keep waiting for the dramatic moment while the actual miracle is happening in the mundane. The real comeback does not announce itself. It does not arrive with trumpets or applause or a visible finish line that tells you the hard part is definitively over. The real comeback looks like waking up on a Tuesday morning when every part of you wants to stay hidden under the covers and choosing to put your feet on the floor anyway. It looks like making the bed. It looks like drinking the water instead of reaching for something that numbs. It looks like opening the laptop and doing 30 minutes of work on the thing you said you would build, even though 30 minutes feels laughably small against the size of the dream. It looks like sending the email you have been afraid to send, making the call you have been postponing for weeks, writing the first paragraph of the thing that has been living in your head rent-free for months. None of these moments look like a comeback from the outside. Every single one of them is. This is the truth about transformation that almost nobody talks about because it does not make for compelling content. Change is boring before it is beautiful. The compound effect of small, faithful daily choices is invisible for a long time. You do not see it in the mirror after a week. You do not feel it dramatically in your chest after a month. You just keep showing up, keep choosing, keep doing the quiet work, and then one day, usually when you are not even looking for it, you realize that the person doing the work today is almost unrecognizable compared to the person who could barely get off the floor a year ago. The transformation happened, it just happened slowly enough that you could not watch it in real time. And that slowness is not a flaw in the process. That slowness is the process, because anything that changes overnight can change back overnight. The kind of strength that is built day by day, choice by choice, through consistent small acts of self-respect and forward motion, that kind of strength has roots, deep roots. The kind that hold when the next storm comes, and there will be a next storm because that is the nature of a full life. But you will meet that storm differently than you met the last one. You will meet it as someone who has spent months quietly building something unshakable inside themselves, one ordinary day at a time. There is something else about the quiet comeback that deserves to be said, because it is the part that trips people up the most. In the absence of dramatic, visible progress, the mind will try to convince you that nothing is happening, that you are standing still, that the effort is pointless and the dream is foolish and the gap between where you are and where you want to be is simply too wide to cross. This voice is not your intuition. It is not wisdom. It is fear wearing the mask of reason, and it is loudest precisely when you are closest to a breakthrough, because something in the architecture of growth understands that the moment before the visible result is the moment most people quit. Do not quit in the moment before the visible result. Do not mistake invisibility for impossibility. The seed does not post updates from underground. It does not send progress reports or hold press conferences or give anyone a reason to believe something extraordinary is happening beneath the surface. It simply does the work of becoming in the dark, in the quiet, without an audience. And then one morning the ground breaks open and what emerges is undeniable. That is your story right now. You are in the underground season. You are in the part that no one sees. And the work you are doing in private is preparing a result that will one day be impossible to ignore. So redefine what progress looks like for this season of your life. Stop measuring your comeback by whether it is visible to others or dramatic enough to share or impressive enough to justify the time it is taking. Start measuring it by whether you showed up today, whether you were a little kinder to yourself than you were yesterday, whether you moved even one small thing forward in the direction of the life you are trying to build, whether you chose in at least one moment the thing that serves your future over the thing that only comforts your present. Those are the metrics of a real comeback. Those are the numbers that actually matter. Because the people who change their lives are not always the most talented or the most resourced or the most dramatically motivated. They are the ones who are simply the most consistent. The ones who decided that showing up imperfectly and incompletely was still infinitely better than not showing up at all. The ones who made peace with the fact that the comeback would not look like the movies and chose to pursue it anyway, in the quiet, in the daily, in the ordinary moments that add up to an extraordinary life, that is the comeback worth having. Quiet, steady, real, and built to last. There is a moment that happens in the deepest part of a person's recovery when the focus begins to shift. In the early stages of survival, everything is necessarily about you. Getting through the day, managing the grief, finding enough oxygen to keep going, protecting what little energy remains. That inward focus is not selfishness, it is survival, and it is completely appropriate for the season it belongs to. But there comes a point, usually when the ground beneath you starts to feel a little more solid, when something inside you begins to look outward, when you start to sense, even before you have the language for it, that what you went through was never only about you, that the pain had a radius, that the healing has one too. This is the moment your comeback becomes something larger than a personal victory. This is the moment it becomes a mission. Think about the people in your life who have most profoundly impacted you, the ones who changed something fundamental in how you see yourself or the world, the ones whose words you still carry years later, the ones who showed up in your darkest chapter and said or did something that became an anchor. Now think carefully about what most of those people had in common. Almost without exception, their ability to reach you, really reach you, all the way down to the part of you that needed reaching, came directly from the fact that they had been somewhere similar. They were not speaking from theory or from textbooks or from a comfortable distance. They were speaking from scar tissue. They were speaking from the place in themselves that had already walked through the thing you were walking through and come out the other side. And that is precisely why it landed. That is precisely why it mattered. Not the polish, not the credentials, the lived experience. You now carry that. Whether you fully realize it or not, you are now someone with that kind of currency. The currency of real experience, the currency of genuine survival. And that currency, when you choose to spend it in the direction of other people, has a value that cannot be manufactured or faked or replicated by someone who has not paid the price you paid. You paid a price, a real one. And what you received in return, the empathy, the depth, the unshakable understanding of what it means to be at the bottom of yourself and still choose to rise, that is not just yours to keep. That is yours to give. There are people in your immediate circle right now who are struggling in ways they have not told anyone. People who are performing okayness with tremendous effort while privately falling apart. People who are sitting with a fear or a grief or a confusion that they believe makes them uniquely broken, uniquely unworthy, uniquely beyond the reach of recovery. And they are watching you, not always openly, not always consciously, but they are watching the way you carry yourself, the way you talk about your past, the way you show up despite what you have been through, and something in the way you move is speaking to something in them that words have not yet reached. Your presence alone is already doing work you cannot measure. But it goes beyond your immediate circle. It goes further than the people whose names you know. Because the thing about a life that has been genuinely transformed by suffering and survival is that it creates a kind of gravitational field. People are drawn to authenticity the way they are drawn to warmth, instinctively, hungrily, without always being able to explain why. When you stop hiding what you have been through and start allowing your story to breathe in the open, something remarkable happens. Strangers recognize themselves in you. People who have never met you and may never meet you find their way to your words or your work or simply to the energy you carry, and something in them says, if that person survived that, then maybe I can survive this. That thought, that single, quiet, life-altering thought, is a seed, and you planted it, without even being in the room. This is the part of the comeback that the world rarely celebrates because it is invisible and unquantifiable. Nobody gives you an award for the person who decided not to give up because they saw you refuse to. Nobody tracks the marriages that stayed together because a couple found hope in watching yours recover. Nobody counts the young people who chose to keep going because they heard your story at the exact moment they needed to hear it. The ripple effects of a genuine comeback are immeasurable and they extend in directions you will never fully see. But they are real. They are happening right now, in ways both large and small, because you chose to rise. And here is what that means for how you carry yourself going forward. It means the healing you do on yourself is never only personal. Every layer of trauma you work through is a layer you will no longer unconsciously pass on to the people around you. Every unhealthy pattern you break in yourself is a pattern that stops traveling through your family line. Every time you choose honesty over performance, vulnerability over armor, growth over comfort, you are not just changing your own life. You are changing the atmosphere of every room you walk into and every relationship you inhabit. You are modeling something for the people watching you, especially the young ones, that they will carry long after they have forgotten the specific moment they witnessed it. There is a particular responsibility that comes with having survived something significant, not the kind of responsibility that is a burden, the kind that is a calling, the calling to not waste what the suffering gave you, the calling to not keep the hard-won wisdom private when there are people who are desperate for exactly what you now carry, the calling to show up fully, to tell the truth about the journey, to stop pretending the road was smoother than it was, because the pretending helps no one while the truth helps everyone. You were not given this story so that you could bury it in the back of yourself and never speak of it again. You were given this story so that it could become a bridge between where someone else is right now and where they need to believe they can go. Your lowest moment, the one you are most tempted to be ashamed of, is the very moment that someone else needs to hear about most. Not because pain should be performed or trauma should be displayed without care, but because the most isolated feeling in human experience is the belief that no one else has ever felt what you are feeling. And when someone steps forward and says, "I have been there, I know that place, I survived it, and here is what it looks like on the other side," that isolation breaks. And when isolation breaks, healing becomes possible. Your rising was never only about you getting back on your feet. It was about what you would do once you were standing. It was about who you would reach back for. It was about the light you would carry into rooms that have been dark for too long. It was about the permission you would give simply by existing fully and honestly for other people to believe that their own comeback is possible. Rise completely then, not just enough to survive, enough to shine. Because the rising that is bigger than you demands the fullest version of you, and the world has waited long enough.